welcome everybody. If you'll please rise for the invocation by Councilman King.
Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we thank you for this day, Lord. We just thank you for all the blessings that you have given to each and every one of us. Lord, just thank you for the opportunity for us to be here tonight, Lord, and the opportunity for us to serve our community. Lord, be with us tonight and guide our conversations and discussions and give us the much needed wisdom and knowledge to make the best decisions for our community. And at the end of the day, Lord, we just want to give you all the praise and glory and honor for all the great things that are happening within our community and all the great things that are going to happen. Lord, just continue to keep our city lifted up, our county and our state, as well as our country, Lord. We need you more now than ever before. And we ask all these blessings in your wonderful and glorious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Standing for the pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Okay, do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, you've all received the minutes from our previous meeting. If there are no questions or comments, I'll accept the motion to receive the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, before we have public comment tonight, I'm going to invite up our police chief to walk us through a grant that we're receiving.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, city manager. Thank you for having us here. To date, it is actually my honor to introduce the council and the members and the citizens of Seaford to some Arbor Management folks, the Director of Security and the Vice President of Arbor Management, Denise Neal, and our Director of Security, Jim Fitzgerald, here to my left. They have graciously donated an $8,000 donation to the City of Seaford Police Department to go towards the startup for our new K-9 program. The citizens may or may not recall from our last budget that we were approved to go to a K-9 program. We are well on our way. The course starts in March. We should have our dog on the road in April. And this donation should pay for about 25% of that, saving the citizens of the City of Seaford a fairly large amount of money. And the rest of this is actually funded through a grant that we received. So if I could bring up Directors Fitzgerald and our Vice President of Arbor Management, Denise Neal. They have a check here to present.
Nice.
Councilman Henderson.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor.
Over there.
I think they you get a quick picture here over to the side.
Trish will herd the cats.
There you go. Keep on to check their cheese.
Awesome, thank you.
Very nice.
One more.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you again, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you again. We really appreciate their support.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
Chief, you want me to hold the check for you?
Okay, with that, we'll go to public comment. Do we have anybody here tonight for public comment?
We do. First on the list is Dan Cannon.
Okay, Mr. Cannon?
At the January 9th meeting of Mayor and City Council, customer electric rates were hiked 7.5%, well above the approximately 3.3 current rate of inflation. City Council's action and part of the electric rate increase was fiscally prudent in order to cover the $800,000 increased wholesale electricity costs. However, the part of the rate increase generating approximately $400,000 of new revenue should raise red flags about how the current process of governance does not work. On January 9th, Mayoral candidate Councilman Matt McCoy referenced past city council decisions to expand the Seaford Police Department as reason for increasing the electric rates. When Councilman James King expressed doubts about raising electric rates, McCoy challenged King to bring up a solution and said objections without solutions are quote-unquote worthless. In response, Councilman King made a motion to table or delay the vote on the electric rate increases in order to consider cutting expenses and avoid electric rate hikes altogether. King said, "We have never sat up here and talked once about cutting any expenses." In saying that, King in essence referenced the fact that Mayor and City Council did not yet have a solid budget provision in place. Councilman Dan Henderson opposed King's idea of delaying the vote and using the upcoming all-day planning session to cut some expenses. For Henderson, this was too hasty, as the not yet completed budget, quote, takes months, unquote. Councilman McCoy first voted to support King's motion, which failed. Then in a 180-degree pivot, McCoy made a motion to approve the electric rate increase, including the $400,000 above increased wholesale electricity costs. City Council member McCoy, Henderson, Bradley, and Holland voted yes for the electric rate increase. Councilman King cast the only no vote, saying, quote, "I am completely against it." Importantly, all the City Council members have shown interest in at least one of the elections that will be contested on April 20th of this year. These same City Council members voted distinctly different governing paths to determine the electricity rate increase and may, after 4/20, have a large impact on the course for city governance and decision-making. I look forward to seeing a newly constituted mayor and city council governing and making decisions differently, with decisions for cost-cutting and other tweaks as a public part of the budget process, with a firm grip on the priorities within the budget, and then and only then, vote on raising rates and/or taxes. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Yes, Robin Veretti.
Ms. Veretti?
Good evening, Robin Veretti, 1007 Magnolia Drive in Bel Air. I'm here tonight to document on the public record the reasons the locked gate across our city street, Magnolia Drive, is illegal. One, the Seaford City Council did not have legal privilege to obstruct Magnolia Drive because the council failed to follow the mandated procedures as stated in the Seaford City Charter, Section 28, Streets, which spells out a series of steps the council must take before a change can be made. The council did not follow any of these mandated steps, and so, violated this law. Two, the gate is in violation of the City of Seaford ordinance titled Subdivision Regulations, Section 611, Cul-de-sac Streets, which states dead-end streets are prohibited unless designed as cul-de-sac streets or designed for future access to adjoining properties. The Bel Air subdivision was not designed as a cul-de-sac. The gate makes Magnolia Drive a dead-end street, and this is a violation of the ordinance. Three, the gate violates Delaware Code Title 11, Crimes and Criminal Procedure, Section 1323, obstructing public passages, which states a person is guilty of obstructing public passages when alone or with other persons and having no legal privilege to do so. The person intentionally or recklessly renders any public passage unreasonably inconvenient or hazardous to use. The city did not have legal privilege to obstruct a public passage because the council failed to follow the mandated procedures of the city charter, Section 28. And the residents of Bel Air have made many complaints to city officials of how the gate makes our daily commutes unreasonably inconvenient, since we now have only one exit/entrance directly onto a busy state road where we also experience frequent flooding. 4, the gate violates Delaware Code Title 17, Highways, Section 503, Nuisance Penalty, which begins, whoever encroaches upon or obstructs or commits any nuisance in a public road shall be fined. The locked gate has been a continuing nuisance and obstruction for Bel Air residents since it was installed and violates this state law. 5, the gate creates an ethics violation for our city because our police department recommended its installation, Yet the gate breaks city and state laws. And our police department is mandated by both their oath of office and City Charter Section 18, Duties of Police, to uphold city and state laws. This is a conflict of interest. Since the city of Seaford does not have an ethics board, this violation would go before the Delaware Public Integrity Commission for resolution. In conclusion, the best way to resolve these 5 violations of law and ethics would be to remove the gate immediately. Thank you.
Last person on the list is Roxanne Knights.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roxanne Knights. I live at 1139 Magnolia Drive in Seaford. I'm also here about the gate. And my reference is basically about safety. From the beginning, I stated that this was a safety hazard for our community in Bel Air. Safety in this dictionary is defined as the condition of being protected from or unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. Seaford Township has no safety emergency plan for any type of disaster, much less for our subdivision here in Bel Air. So it really explains why they made a decision to install a cattle gate across the Magnolia Drive. They're in dividing a public road, creating subsequently 2 dead ends, locking in over 100 Seaford residents in a subdivision that once had several exits, but now only has 1. The decision, while providing protection and safety for speeding cars for those residing on the east side of the gate, now created several safety hazards for those residing on the west side of the gate. First of all, there was no proof that there was any training provided for the lockbox that's there called a Knox lock for life-threatening emergencies that may exist. There's a national response of 8 or less minutes for basic life emergency responses. There's flooding that's occurring every time it rains on our side of our gate. And the city council did not consider any mental health or well-being for anyone that may have depression or may consider themselves being locked in or react to any kind of trigger in being locked in. They continue to increase the struggles that we have. There's no demonstration of emergency response. Like never once has medical personnel or a director of safety ever come by and say, hey guys, this is what you're gonna do in the event of an emergency, nor demonstrate that any ambulance or fire truck can come in our gate safely enough to address any emergency situations. We've been told many a times by city council and mayor to provide to them what we consider our resolutions, but however, I just want to make it known that we never ever placed the gate across the streets that we once traversed. And therefore, I think it's the responsibility of the city and council to make the decision on how they're going to resolve this issue. In addition, there was never a public hearing or the due process necessary for the gate to be provided for either side, and there was no proof that any Bel Air speeders were ever existent. There were other streets that tribute into Magnolia Drive, and those were not considered or locked out. In addition to that, just wanted you guys to know that violation of protection, we are all entitled to equal protection and safety according to the civil rights, okay? So right now, this gate stands as a civil rights violation to everyone who lives or resides. As a representation to our community, we're asking you once again to remove this illegal gate that has been placed and locking us back there with no consideration for our safety.
Okay, is there anyone else? Okay. All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and close our regular meeting and open up our public hearing, and I'll invite up our building official, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So there's 3 items on tonight's public hearing agenda. The first one is for the Farmer's Daughter LLC. Property owner, they're requesting a final site plan review for the construction of a mini storage warehouse complex located on Norman Eskridge Highway. Tax map and parcels 331-5.00-48.05 and is zoned C2 Highway Commercial. This is the parcel outline there on Norman Eskridge Highway, next to Nanticoke Automotive and the Planet Fitness Big Lots Shopping Center. It's vacant lands right now. And they have provided this site plan, and I do have it zoomed in on the next slide. They have some stormwater shown on there, and 6 mini storage facilities. They're going to do an improved entrance with a gate off of Norman Escritz Highway. And you can see that a little better here on this next one. So they're proposing 6 self-storage buildings with roughly 192 storage units. I've been talking to them, and that's flexible. Depending on how the market goes, they'll build a few buildings to start with and see how it goes, but maximum is be 192. They did get a parking waiver from the Board of Adjustments in August to eliminate the we require a parking space in front of each unit, and they did get a variance to remove that requirement. They said in their other facilities it's just not needed. There's not that many people accessing the site at the same time where they would have that need. It meets all the other requirements in the zoning code for a self-storage facility. We have a fencing requirement, landscaping, things like that, lighting. And it does require them to obtain an easement from the neighboring property, Nanticoke Automotive, to extend a water line to this site for their fire hydrants. They do have comments and approvals back from DelDOT, the Fire Marshal, and Sussex Conservation.
Okay, are there any questions from council?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mike, is the project contingent on the auto, I just drew a blank, the Nanticoke Automotive.
Yeah.
Is it contingent on getting an easement from that property to this property? Or if they say, hey, look, we don't want to do it, the city's prepared to go in and kind of do something different?
Yeah, they'd have to find another path to get water to their site. That's the closest point to them right now.
Right.
So yeah, they're relying on that for now, and we won't issue them permits until they have that straightened out.
Right. But wouldn't that be a kind of a beneficial piece of information to have tonight before we make our decision?
Councilman, you can certainly, if the council's will is to table it, you can certainly table it. We have spoken with the property owner next door. We have put our comments in writing that we will not issue a building permit until an easement is obtained from the next door neighbor, or they do have the option, there is a water main out front, but it's in Norman Escritz Highway. So, looking at it,
They can't tie in next to, what's that, Louis? They can't tie that way?
No,
There's nothing available there?
There's
No.
nothing there.
Right.
Nothing there?
Right, no public main.
Okay.
So they have those 2 options, either one they work out. This is a technical detail between the Director of Public Works, staff, the building official, but certainly if you want to table the approval till the easement is completed, we can certainly do that.
Okay, other questions from council? Yes, sir.
Could you go back one slide, please? Yes, sir. Just as a matter of housekeeping, it says the Board of Adjustments approved this in August of 2022, or was this past year?
No, it was way back when.
Yeah,
And
this has been in the works for some
it's-
time.
I'm not going to say the project has lingered. The developer has kind of moved it at his own pace, but yeah, it
So
was
there's-
some time ago.
There's no sunsetting of an approval if no action's been taken.
And that was just a
That
variance
is
of
correct for Board of
parking.
Adjustment. Yeah, the Board of Adjustment did not put any sunset on it, and variances stay with the property.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, other questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? Okay, Mike.
Move on to item number 2 for BCDE Investments Group LLC. Property owner, they're requesting a subdivision of 2 existing lots located on Porter Street, tax map and parcels 531-13.06-47.00 and 531-13.06-47.02. They're zoned R3, high density residential. They're looking to split those 2 lots into 9 lots for townhomes. These are the lots there highlighted. They're vacant lands, back up to Heritage Jewelers, just south of the subway on North Porter Street. And they have supplied this proposed lot subdivision showing 9 lots for proposed townhouse development. All the lots do meet the area and bulk requirements for R3 townhouse lots. The minimum width there is 16 and lot depth is 100 feet. Now they've got some different sizes here, but the south lot, which is the lot furthest to the left on this picture, is 32.14 feet wide. The middle lots 1 through 7 are 20 feet wide, and the north lot, the right-hand side there, is 31.80 feet, and all lots are 149.93 feet deep. So everything meets the zoning requirements for townhouse lot in R3.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Yes, sir.
Out of curiosity, how did these lots get subdivided to 20-foot lots?
So currently, if you just go back, do you have a picture of the original subdivision?
Well, it's 2 lots. It's just one big field right
Yeah.
now.
Are you referring to the current subdivision?
Yeah.
Okay.
The current,
How did that happen?
Okay, so.
Just for history's
go back.
sake.
Yeah,
I'm
my
just
understanding of it, just go back to the aerial, Mike. So it was part of, it's a residual parcel left over from, and I apologize, the apartment complex is Colonial Gardens.
I believe so.
Yeah, so it was a residual parcel that was left over from that development. A previous developer had come before council and requested a development plan. And I think what happened at that time to coordinate with his development plan, he did some additional subdivisions. So it's a little odd right now.
Because I do recall that we approved a sketch plan for something else here a couple
did.
years ago.
Yeah, I think it's been 5.
I didn't recall seeing so many subdivided lots.
Well, that's what they're proposing. These 20-foot lots are what they're
Oh.
proposing. It's
Yeah.
not what is
So,
existing.
well, I'm curious to know how they would build on a 20-foot lot.
So it's a townhouse,
So they're all,
demising walls.
Okay.
The unit is 20-foot wide with
Yep.
a demising wall that's a joint ownership.
Okay,
Gotcha.
okay. Other questions from council? Are there any questions from the public?
It's kind of like
If you have a question, please just come up, state your name, and
a condominium?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Jay Milligan, One Cross Gate, Council, Mayor. Where's the parking for this?
So it'll be off of Porter Street, we believe. They still have to develop those plans. I'm sorry, there is a plan for Porter Street. They also have access to, I believe it's Cypress Alley that's in the back. And that's how some of the others have parked. There's a parking field behind that. So in this, they have both options. So what's required by code is 2 spaces per
Two
unit.
spaces per unit.
The lot is 20 feet wide, so we require 10 by 20s. So it would be the front or backyard.
I just didn't see it there.
Yeah, this is just a subdivision plan,
Yeah.
it's not a site plan.
I could see wall-to-wall cars.
Yeah,
parking
it will
around
be,
without it, yeah.
that's really what it will be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Knight?
I just want to know, where's the green space? Like, if you're going to put families in these townhomes, are you going to have anywhere to play? Because there's still kids involved in this. It just always seems
So,
that,
so the lot
Yeah.
is, Mike's
20.
got it listed there, they're 149 feet deep, 20-foot wide. The zoning ordinance says you can build 20% of the lot with buildings. So 80% of the lot minus parking will be some other type of green space required by code.
okay, because I live on a 20-foot lot. There's nowhere for the kids to play.
Any other comments from the public?
so for item number 3 is for Macias Arceli, property owner of 808 3rd Street, tax map and parcel 431-5.00-421.00. They're seeking a subdivision of the reference property into 2 separate lots. Excuse me. So this is a vacant parcel near the end of 3rd Street. It used to have a home on it that was demolished, and this owner has the property right next door. He's expressed interest in splitting this up to have his kids move next door eventually or something. So they have submitted a survey showing the proposed subdivision. The existing lot is 9,000 square feet in size and 90 feet wide. and the proposed new lots are each 4,500 square feet and 45 feet wide. And they do meet the area and bulk requirements for R2, which is a minimum width of 35 and a minimum lot size of 4,500.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:25 and reopen our regular meeting. You want to walk us through, Mr. Bailey?
Sure. So for public hearing number 1, these are the findings of facts. The project is Seaford Mini Storage. The owner is Farmer's Daughter LLC. The property is located on Norman Eskridge Highway. Tax map and parcel 331-5.00-48.05. Zoning is C2 Highway Commercial. They're proposing 6 self-storage buildings with 192 units. Parking space in front of each unit was waived via variance granted by the Board of Adjustment in August 2022, and it does meet all the area requirements for self-storage in the zoning code. And it requires the owners obtaining an easement from the neighboring property to extend water to the site. It received DELDOT approval, State Fire Marshal approval, and Sussex Conservation approval. And Planning and Zoning is to make a favorable recommendation to council on January 4th.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the request of the Farmer's Daughter LLC property owner for a final site plan review for the construction of a mini storage warehouse complex to be located at Norman Eskridge Highway, tax map and parcel number 331-5.00-48.05, zone C2 Highway Commercial as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, if not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on the findings of facts.
Councilman Bradley?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings
All
of
right,
fact.
it's unanimous. Thanks, Mike. Let's go to the next one.
For public hearing item number 2, the project is a Porter Street lot subdivision. The owners are BCDE Investment Group LLC. Property is located on North Porter Street. Tax map and parcels 531-13.06-47.00 and 531-13.06-47.02. The zoning is R3 high density residential. They're proposing 9 townhouse lots. All the lots meet the area and bulk requirements for the R3 zone. For a townhouse with a minimum width of 16 feet and a lot depth of 100 feet. The south lot is 32.14 feet wide. Lots 1 through 7 are 20 feet. And the north lot is 31.80 feet wide. All lots are 149.93 feet deep. Planning and Zoning did make a favorable recommendation to council at their January 4th meeting.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the request of BCDE Investments Group LLC, property owner for a subdivision of the 2 existing lots located at Porter Street, tax map and parcel number 531-13.06-47.00 and 531-13.06-47.02, zoned R3 high density residential into 9 lots for townhomes as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I yield. Go ahead.
Councilman Holland, I second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do another roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Bradley?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
And Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Next, Mr. Bailey.
For public hearing item number 3, the project is 808 3rd Street subdivision. Owner is Isaias Arceli. Property is located at 808 3rd Street. Tax map and parcel is 431-5.00-421.00. They're requesting to subdivide the existing parcel into 2 separate lots. The existing lot is 9,000 square feet and 90 feet wide. The proposed new lots are each 4,500 square feet. And they meet the area and bulk requirements for the R2 zone, minimum lot width of 35 and minimum lot size 4,500 square feet. Planning and Zoning did make a favorable recommendation for council on January 4th.
All right, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the request.
Marcellus Arcelli, property owner of 808 3rd Street, tax map and parcel 431-5.00-421.00 for a subdivision of the reference property into separate lots as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Councilman McCoy. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman Bradley?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Bailey, appreciate it. All right, next we have new business number 1, which is the extension to the chief's contract.
Okay, so council has in their package 2 copies of the employment extension agreement for the chief of police. This is between the city of Seaford and Marshall Craft. There is a clean copy in there, but the red line copy denotes the changes from the existing agreement. They're very minimal. They're basically, this would extend this agreement for an additional 2 years, which would take Marshall Craft's contract out to 2027. It does address his current compensation in there, and all those stay the same with the exception of the current compensation. And then additionally, the only other change that was made is compensatory AT time, which he currently does get. He has agreed to do it on an hour-for-hour basis. Other than that, there are no changes to this extension agreement other than the time frame.
Okay, are there any questions in regards to the employment extension to our police chief? If not, I will accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, bear with me just a second. I'll make a motion to approve the revision to the employment extension agreement with the Chief of Police, Marshall Craft Jr. for an additional 2 years with the contract ending the last day of July 2027 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Councilman Bradley seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. It's a true vote of confidence in the leadership you're giving our police department, Chief. We really appreciate you. We do. Okay, next we have the MOU with HELP. Are we inviting anybody up?
We are.
Okay.
We are. Council has in their package an agreement with the HELP Initiative, and I'd like to invite up, if he would not mind, Mr. Charles Kistler, who is the Executive Director of the HELP Initiative, old friend to the Mayor and Council of the City of Seaford. This agreement is, if you don't mind, Mr. Kistler, I'll just talk about the highlights. This is a funding opportunity for the City of Seaford and our police department. This is titled the Seaford Police Department Public Safety Call Center Camera Project. As council is aware, the city has been undertaking deployment of surveillance cameras for the last decade and investing in servers and our capabilities. Our chief of police has really expanded that project, embraced that project. We have this area monitored 24/7. Mr. Kistler has agreed to assist us through his initiative with some funding that he has. And Chief Kraft and our IT staff, Gary Andrews, have worked together. This outlines what will happen over the next 2 years. The HELP Initiative will pay for not only some new cameras in the community, what's called flock safety interoperability, that's our software package that we run, and then additional TV monitoring stations in our call center. One of the problems is we have so many cameras tiled on smaller screens, it's hard to monitor them all at one time. So Mr. Kistler and his group saw that need and stepped up for us. One of the issues here, or one of the things to point out to council, is HELP Initiative has agreed to do this for 2 years. After that time, the City of Seaford would have to agree to take over ownership of all equipment, as well as the maintenance fees for the software. If it breaks, we got to fix it, things of that nature. That, in a nutshell, is the basis of the project and the agreement between our organizations, our partnership. Mr. Kistler, would you like to add any salient points?
Sure. So first, it's a pleasure, because we have a true love for this city. And when when we do work here, it seems like the center of the universe starts here, and then we spread it from here out to the rest of the state. And we started with a simple light bulb. And that light bulb was able to light up the front porch and then be able to open the front door and be able to do a bunch of house, in-home services, health-related services, energy-related services. And now, what we're doing is being able to work with the police departments in different parts of the state to consolidate what they currently have in existing camera feeds as well as the residential cameras that we're installing in the homes that go hand in hand with the lighting up at the front porch. And it's all under the banner of Safer Communities, right? We have a Safer Communities campaign. So the health and safety measures we install in the homes, first aid kits and smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, fire extinguishers, night lights, all those things are safe-related measures. And that's the whole premise behind this, is it's a Safer Community campaign, and it's a public safety communications center. This is a great place to start this campaign, where we combine both of those, because you have one of the most highly respected chiefs of police in the state. We know that because we go into a whole bunch of different cities and towns in the state. And anytime Chief Kraft's name comes up, it's almost like an automatic endorsement. And that's why it's important for us to start here and take what we create here and move it to these other smaller areas. Delaware City, for instance, Harrington, Middletown. These are all people that love your chief. So by doing this, we want to measure impact. We want to log the testimonials or success stories that come away with the license plate reader technology, the integration of the 21 current camera feeds that you have, the alerting prospects that come up. And for me, I'm revisiting a previous life I had. So I was responsible for consolidation of emergency services right after or right before 9/11. And I worked with the Department of Defense to do that in the Pacific Rim with the Navy and the Marines. And so doing this, smaller scale, obviously, but the same concept exists, right, in terms of protection, public safety, and safer communities. So it's awesome. So we have an exciting year planned, right? It starts here.
Amen. Does council have any questions for Mr. Kistler? Councilman King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can we talk about placement? So going into the community, where do you see adding these additional cameras?
So the license plate reader cameras are really, we rely on law enforcement to tell us the movement, traffic movement, because that has a lot to say about where the placement of the cameras are. On the residential side, it really depends on, first of all, whether people are eligible. So they need Wi-Fi, they need a smartphone, and in certain cases, they need exposure to the sun because the cameras are being powered by the sun, unless they have a doorbell. If they have a doorbell, then we can replace that with a video doorbell. But it's really based on their preference of wanting to do that, because it makes them feel safer to challenge somebody on the other side of the door before they open it.
So is there a sign-up sheet, or who's eligible, who's not eligible? What does that process look like?
So the process looks like an 833 call center number that we have set up for people that are interested. And then what we do is, so we're statewide, so we have to be very careful about the focus groups we go into. Right now, Seaford as a city is a focus group for us. So the deployment and the installation of both the camera side of this and the residential side of this, they go in a coordinated fashion. So that would be the first step, would be to call that call center number.
Okay.
Right.
And is that information, so if I'm in the community and this is something that I have interest in, first of all, how do we know it's coming? And then how do we get the information out there, the contact information to explain the program? Like, how do we educate the residents within our community that this program is coming, and if they have a want, how do they get that information?
Right. So you have a brochure that's in your lobby right now that doesn't specifically talk to the video side of it, but it talks to the safer community side of it. So that's one of the first steps, is to reference people at the counter to that brochure. The other one is, we are going to do a social media, Facebook type of campaign specific to this area. And we didn't want to get any of this moving until we had all this infrastructure in place. So we worked with Gary, and the IT side's good guy. So working with Gary and then working with the chief and the deputy chief to get stuff done. But yeah, awareness is a big challenge. We're always dealing with making people aware of what they're entitled to, but they have no knowledge of it.
Right.
And that's on us to make sure that we do the best we can in getting that out. It starts with printed material, and social media really is the first. And then the faith community. You know, we're very active in working the outreach events that take place in your city, as well as working with Pastor Ross and the Unified Seaford Movement, who's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're going to do some cool things with them. We're part of the violent crime task force that was established by the governor. He just came down a couple weeks ago, see Laurel. So weaving the common areas that are very important, faith being one of them, organizations like the Boys and Girls Club, extremely important. You got to figure out how to connect the dots to do that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Other
Good question.
questions
Yeah.
from council? If there is not, then I will accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the HELP Initiative to provide funding for additional security cameras, Flock OS software, and call center upgrades for the Seaford Police Department as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. So it's great sound, isn't it? Puts a
It's
smile
one
on
of
your
the best
face.
sounds that I can imagine.
You know, for all the people who come and do things in our community, your group has had such an incredible impact. I think most people believe you live here in Seaford, you go to church here in Seaford, and they see you so much, you're just one of us now. We just
Yeah, I
claim
just
you.
blend right in.
That's right.
Yeah.
But really, you have blessed our community with all you have done. It's just been incredible to watch the work you guys do, so thank you so much.
And it's a blessing to have been here. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Mr. Kessler.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You know, the last time I was at the police department for our newest officer being sworn in, I went in and saw the monitors of these teeny little squares of the cameras, and it is difficult to see that. And I can't imagine someone sitting there all day trying to monitor all that. So those improvements will be pretty incredible out there, so. Okay, next we have the Transformers bid, and Mr. Bennett is here tonight to walk us through.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager.
Good evening, sir.
The city opened bids on January 10th for pad mount three-phase transformers. We got bids from 4 different suppliers. One bid was Weisscom Technologies for a total of $178,783.16. Their transformers met specs. It's a 43-week delivery time. Wesco supplied 3 bids. One was from Hitachi, which was $245,269 with a 98-week delivery time. One was from Potec, but it was an incomplete bid. They just bid 1 transformer. The third one was from Virginia Transformers. One thing they did, the 300 kVA and 500 kVA, they bid 750 kVA transformers because they don't build anything smaller than that. And their bids were $424,856 with a 36-week delivery. United Utility Supply, their bid was $235,732. Maddox Transformers, and it was a 4 to 8 week delivery. Now how they do that, they're a nationwide company. We bought transformers from them before, so they can pull these transformers from all over the country and get them shipped to us. The low bid was Pulse Max Solutions, $166,611, and they were a 16 to 18 week delivery. They had 2 exceptions to our specs, transformer specs. They use a different brand bushing than what was spec'd. But the big thing was they use a silicon steel core instead of the core that was spec. And this core, while it's cheaper to manufacture and put in, creates a higher loss. So transformers usually have a 40 to 50-year life. So every year it's out there in the field, it's costing us money because there's line loss through that transformer. One thing I do want to point out, the third transformer over is actually 1,000 kVA, not 100 kVA. That's a fat finger typo on my part. That's why it's more money than the other ones. But it's my recommendation that we award the bid to United Utility Supply. They meet all of our specs and have a quicker delivery time than the next lower bid, which was Wisecom Technologies.
Okay, are there any questions for Director Bennett in regards to these transformer bids? Councilman King?
Mr. Bennett, is there an immediate need for these transformers?
Some of them are going to be used, some of them are there to be restocked for inventory. That's going to be inventory that's used for the project at Allen Capital Shopping Center. So those, you know, as that project starts, we'll be placing transformers out there. Right now we have all of those in stock if none go bad. But the problem is if we put all of our transformers out there and a week later the high school loses a transformer, we don't have a transformer to put at the high school.
Sure. And the reason that I'm asking, if Westcom Technology, did they meet all of our?
Yes, they met all the specs.
It's just the delivery time is longer than United.
It's 43 weeks.
But that seems like a pretty significant swing from 179,000 to 235, and we talk about like 50 grand?
$56,948.84.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Other questions, Councilman?
The question is not related specifically to these bids, but do these new transformers, are they more robust for solar distribution and generation? Or are they a newer generation of transformer that would be more conducive to flow back to the grid? Are they just the normal?
They're the normal standard transformer. The problem with solar coming back to the grid isn't so much with the transformer as it is with the relay settings in the substations and the frequency variation. Which, you know, if it's backfeeding onto the grid, the frequency variation for the person next door
Okay.
that doesn't have solar. And that happens, the larger the system, the more more variation there can be.
Okay.
It's like if you came out sometime and looked at the report for the one we have for the wastewater treatment plant and look at the, you know, I'd leave it on a month review, but if you do cut the timeline down, then look at how much it changes when clouds go over. You know, there's a lot of variance in the output of a solar system.
And that was why I asked the question, whether it was robust enough to take that kind of course, the transformer's kind of local, right? It's not way out on, in the grid.
No,
So-
yeah, these are local to a building. You know, it may feed, like at the shopping center project, one transformer may feed five units.
Right.
Some of them just feed 1 unit. So, yeah, it's not like it is feeding
Okay.
20 or 30.
Just
units.
curious. Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
The 36 weeks, have you found in your experience that they are on par or there are always delays beyond the 36 weeks?
Normally, they tell you 36 weeks, and it's it's usually later than that.
That's what I figured. So the 6 to 8 week is pretty much on par?
Yes, I mean,
I'm
what
just-
they told me is they have them in different warehouses across the country.
Okay.
They can pull them out and supply them to us from across the country. Wacom Technologies, we've never dealt with them before. Forget where they were from.
Well, my curiosity was just, you know, if we're gonna be putting our eggs in another basket and they're promising us a date, but they don't deliver, then somewhere along the line, we're gonna get caught with our pants down.
And they may deliver. I mean, I've never dealt with them, so I can't say, you know, that they're gonna be late.
Well, in my
But-
experience, they take care of their existing customers first, and the newbies kind of fall behind a bit.
Councilman McCoy?
Yeah, I want to dive into that myself a little bit. Transformers are not something you want to be short on. Let's play out the scenario you posed there for a second. We run short on transformers, something at school happens, they need a transformer, we don't have anything. What happens?
You have two options. One is you tell them you have to wait till one comes in. We have one on order and it's gonna be, 26 more weeks. Or you find that, you have to go around and ask all the other utilities that have the same voltage that we have. 3-phase is 12,470. The secondary voltage, whether it's 120, 208, or 277, 480. So you have to find other utilities that use that voltage and has that transformer, and ask them if they can spare one. But then it's a matter of, because nobody wants to give away their last one.
Exactly.
Do they have a spare one that they would be willing to ship to us?
Irregardless, we'd be in dire straits.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And before I yield, way off topic, but recent storm, hats off to you and the crew for keeping the lights on for everybody.
All right, are there any other?
I have one more.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Bennett, if I understand you correctly, it's not so much about the lowest price, it's more about the turnaround time? than it is
Between those two, yes.
Between those two, okay. And you're concerned that 43 weeks could put the city of Seaford at jeopardy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So you can't pick one of these up at Lowe's? I'm sorry that.
You might be able to steal the one
Yeah,
out.
That sounded more funny in my head. I'm
They
sorry.
have one out there, we could go get it, but I don't think Lowe's would be happy.
I meant on the shelves. All right, if there's no further questions, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to award the bids for transformers to United Utility Supply in the amount of $235,723 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
I'll
Count.
second.
Councilman Henders seconds. Okay, are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilman King.
Aye.
Councilman Holland.
Aye.
Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
Councilman Bradley.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Appreciate it. All right, next we have bids for the fence out at the sports complex, and Mrs. Newcomer is going to lead us through that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
You each have in your packet a recommendation from the Superintendent of Recreation for the privacy fence at the sports complex. If you remember, we talked about this in the CIP and the budget process. This is a privacy fence. It's a 1,061 linear feet of privacy fencing that would be, I guess, on the south side, neighboring the back of the properties that run adjacent to the sports complex. We've had some issues, balls going into people's yards, people wandering over into people's yards. So this has been something we've been looking at to do. Staff received 6 bids on January 17th, as you can see, and New Holland Chain Link came in as the low bidder for $475. So it's our recommendation to go ahead and to award to them. This is a budgeted item through our capital budget and ORPT grant funding.
Couple questions. You might have already said this. How tall are these fences?
6 foot.
6 foot.
Yes, sir.
And if this is awarded, how soon would they start?
I believe it's within 30 days that they
Okay.
have to.
So before
Yeah,
the
and it
spring,
is,
would-
it's continuation, the fencing that's out there now on Pine Street, it's that black galvanized,
Yep.
so it would be a continuation of that same look and feel going around the park.
Perfect. Okay, questions from council?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank you, Tricia, for using my company for the fence.
waiting for
Greatly appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
That would be old
I wasn't going there.
Sorry, buddy, you teed that one up too much. Everybody wanted to swat at that one. Other questions for Mrs. Newcomer? If there are no further questions, wow, that was it, huh? If there are no other questions, we'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, I make the motion to award the bid for a sports complex fence to the low bidder, New Holland Chain Link, in the amount of $44,475 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman McCoy seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, carried. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Good, great.
Wow, it's not even 9 o'clock yet. Okay, do we have any old business?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, reminder of meetings.
Just a couple. Friday, January 26th, this Friday, 8:30 to 3:30 is the City of Seaford Planning Session at the Seaford District Library. And Bill Bennett will be acting city manager next week, January 27th through February 3rd. Also, just a reminder, as we do during this time of the year, municipal election will be Saturday, April 20th. And currently, Councilman Matt McCoy has filed for mayor, and Mr. Alan Quillen has filed to run for council this last week. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start off with committee reports with Code, Parks and Rec. Mr. Bradley.
Mayor Genshaw, City Manager Anderson, Chief Kraft, fellow council members, city employees, and guests. Due to my scheduling mess-up, I opted to have a procedure done this morning instead of Parks and Rec and Code Enforcement. The good news is they managed to find my head. First is the Code Department report from Mike Bailey. Bel Air started homes, their first 10 lots, with 6 completed. 9 Line Capital, the contractors are preparing for demolitions. Everyone I talked to is enthusiastic about the rebirth. Parks and Recs. They have cleared out the football shed for demolition and installation of a new one. And the rest can be reviewed online. I would like to deviate a little bit for a minute if I could. I would like to touch base on the homeless at this time. If anyone is friends with Frank Parks on Facebook, you should become friends with him. He's a Code Purple volunteer and recently spent the night at one of the shelters. Frank got 3 individuals in Teen Challenge to go to Detroit and 1 in detox from his visit. It's an extensive post that he has presented, and I'm sure he would be glad to help or point others in the right direction. They are starved for volunteers for anyone who wishes to give back. This concludes my report. Respectfully submitted, Mike Bradley.
Thank you, sir. Police and Fire, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 full reports from Chief Wilson and Chief Kraft. Start with Chief Wilson at the first. There's a total of 69 calls in January from the fire department for an average of 3.1 calls per day. EMS statistics, there's 277 calls for an average of 12.5 calls per day. There's significant incidents. On the 19th of January, out of the city, there was a residential fire on North Oak Grove Road it was a kitchen fire. And on the 20th of January, also out of the city, there was a motor vehicle crash with entrapment on Coverdale Road where they extricated 3 occupants from the vehicle on its side. Under apparatus, ladder 87 is out of service due to a hydraulic issue in the aerial. The last training was January 17th at Station 87. That was the annual CPR and AED refresher and fire review for personnel. 25 members attended. Under emergency medical services, there's interview and testing to fill 3 positions, and that will take place January 30th at the fire department. Sussex County EMS leadership meeting was scheduled for January 26th at 0900. Recent update on the new A87, the 2026, it's scheduled to start in the body shop in Florida soon. Firefighter EMT James Durr has completed his 2 years of service at Seaford Fire Department, so please congratulate him if you encounter him. And Tidal Health Nanticoke has returned to requiring masks for sick patients in the hospital, just as a public service announcement. Derek Adams, president for the first term, and Jack Wilson, fire chief, is for his 7th term. They've been installed along with other elected fire and administrative officers for 2024. Congratulations to them. The Seaford Volunteer Fire Department Fire Banquet, the annual banquet, is Saturday, February 3rd at the Seaford Fire Hall. And on Monday, January 16th, there was a special meeting held at the fire department where they voted to purchase a new 2025 Pierce Sabre fire pumper to replace engine 87-2. This is a stock model that closely resembles the fire department's current engine 87-5 with delivery in 2025. The stock model gives them the ability to get apparatus faster from the vendor instead of traditional committee specification process that would give us delivery in the 2027 or 2028 range. So when you start adding and customizing, it takes an additional 2 to 3 years. So that's prudent in my view. This new engine will be designated as engine 87-3. At a cost of $925,000. Under the Seaford Police Department, you'll see the columns from 2020 all the way up to the current columns with total complaints at 582 for the month. Let me make a note that this is the 3 weeks. This is January 1st through the 21st. So you might see numbers that are a little larger than normal because this is a 3-week period and not just the normal 2-week period. Under all crimes of 172, you'll see the distribution of felonies and misdemeanors. There were, of the 172, there were 12 felonies for an 81% clearance rate, and that's down a little bit, but you can see that there are 21 pending active cases that may be closed out here very soon. You'll see a crime view chart showing activity, daily activity, cumulative activity, and then time of day activity, and you'll see that varies, but you can see it varies from report to report, but you can see the peak time, it's pretty small there, but it's between 10 and 12. Actually, the peak times are between 10 and 12 in the afternoon, like morning and afternoon. It's kind of odd. Maybe not so odd for the people on patrol, but drug crimes, 20 total drug crimes with 16 arrests, 3 prosecution declined. There were 3 overdoses encountered by the police officers during this time, 249 traffic contacts, 77 citations, and 18 warnings. 1 DUI, none of them were crash-related. There were 28 total crashes, 3 injury accidents, 4 hit-and-runs during this period, and 1 school bus accident with no injuries, fortunately. There's a number of significant events that are listed here, which I will not detail, that you can review. It will be in the report as well. Under administration, the chief attended various meetings, council meetings, and events and ceremonies. He attended the Coffee with Danny Short at the Senior Center on the 3rd of January. On the 5th of January, the Seaford Police Department new K-9 program handler training begins. That training begins in March with Patrolman First Class Matthews. The department was awarded in $15,000 in CJC reverted funds, and as you can recall, the Arbor Management made their donation this evening, very helpful towards meeting the goal of activating the K-9 program that donated $8,000. Number of other meetings. Of significance, I won't spoil the one, but I would go on to say that the city manager and myself and the accreditation manager and the chief, we all had the privilege of attending the approval of the reaccreditation of the Seaford Police Department for another 3-year period. It's quite an honor to be there with the Secretary of Homeland Security and the whole board there for reaccreditation, and all the thorough work they did and the department as well. I'd like to thank the accreditation manager, Horn, for all her work and her pulling all this information together, and her team as well. So I would, in the interest of time, I'm going to abbreviate the rest of this report, but I would like to read a late letter that was presented to me earlier this evening by the chief, and this is another event that took place on the 9th of January, where the community got to honor their first minority officer. And I think we have a picture of the gentleman displayed on the monitor, and I'll read this letter. It's very, very well crafted. Many thanks to Jim Bowden, well-known Seaford historian and police department historian, for his efforts in researching and recognizing Clifford Russell Jackson, Seaford Police Department's first minority police officer. A dedication ceremony for Clifford Jackson was held at the police department on January 9th of this year, which marked the 74th anniversary of the day Mr. Jackson was sworn in as a police officer by then Chief of Police George Washington Bowden, grandfather of Jim Bowden. The ceremony, which was coordinated and led by Jim, was attended by members of Clifford Russell Jackson's family, city officials, and members of our police department. Mr. Jackson's shadow box, along with his portrait, is proudly displayed in the Seaford Police Department. Thank you to Mr. Jackson's family and Jim Bowden in coordinating and facilitating this dedication ceremony to honor Clifford Russell Jackson for his service from 1950 to 1952 to the city of Seaford and the Seaford Police Department. That's from Chief Marshal Kraft. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have Administration IT, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along with that, They attended the award ceremony held for Clifford Jackson at the Seaford Police Department. They also attended design development meeting for Front Street streetscaping project, and they met with the developer who purchased the former Rite Aid building and discussed future plans for redevelopment. And they attended the swearing-in ceremony for new officers and attended various other meetings and events, and all their work is routine. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Electric, Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a few highlights real quick. Since the last report, the crew have taken down the Christmas lights. In the storm on the 9th, they had Circuit 310 open due to trees, and 4 poles on Bud Street blew over. They did replace the 4 poles on Bud Street and cleaned up all debris. They also pulled in the fiber cable for the SVSC lift station. And Greg Brook went to DMEC for a seminar on cutout reclosures. Regarding our director, he had a standard director's meeting, staff meeting, council liaison meeting, and met with the OHP revisions. They also opened the bids for transformers we spoke about earlier. He also worked on the planning session presentation, which we'll all get together on Friday about. Over the course of the next few weeks, they're going to start working on a KRM building in the Western Sussex Business Campus and continue working in Bel Air single-family residence section. Do want to go briefly away from electric. Got a chance, and it was a pleasure to be a part of Jim Bowden's presentation the other day at the police department, and see the room was filled with Mr. Jackson's family. I was taken aback by that, and one comment that was made, I believe by his granddaughter, stuck with me was, this is such an amazing thing, and I never got a chance to meet my grandfather. And to know that he's going to be honored there forever is a really big deal. So that was a pleasure to be a part of. Also want to mention, I think in this city we need as much leadership as we can get nowadays, all the things we're facing. Very pleased to have Chief Kraft here for 2 more years. Glad to have you back, Chief. And Mr. Bradley, you mentioned Mr. Parks.
Yes.
Got a chance to see him the other day. Fought at Alder Dance. He was cutting a rug pretty good out there. I've been very blessed to see Mr. Parks work with a lot of young people. And he's been a huge difference in the lives of many in this area. So appreciate you giving him a shout out. And that's been my report.
Thank you. Finally, we have Public Works Wastewater Treatment, Councilman King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report has been submitted in its entirety. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights from each department, starting with the Public Works Department. The Seaford Village Lift Station project is complete and online. The team has been spending a lot of time out cleaning sewers and everything, putting brine down for the storm. So I'll just kudos to the team. They did an outstanding job. I mean, the roads, considering the snow that we got, they did an outstanding job with that. They've been working on some tree removal on Rush Street. Some of the vehicles had to receive maintenance. Jumping over to the wastewater treatment facility, the plant is running well. Dewatering is running great. Some of the projects that are happening over the next couple of weeks are going to spend a lot of time on water services. As we heard tonight, there's just a lot of continued development throughout our community, which is a good thing. So they're going to put some water services on Cedar Avenue, North Street, Sussex Avenue. And then they're going to put a new pump on at the Manor House lift station. And then, of course, as always, keep the plant up and running with 0 violations. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. I do want to say thank you to all the city staff that are preparing for our all-day meeting on Friday. That's always a good time. And also, we won't meet before, but the Boys and Girls Club celebrating their 25-year anniversary on Friday. It's hard to believe they've been here 25 years. So that's quite an accomplishment. It'll be a big celebration. So with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Henderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. Good night.